You're listening to the OMG Hour.
Welcome, everybody. It is episode number 376 of the OMG Hour, and I am Sean Evans, otherwise known as Zion Tane.
And I am Tico, Mr. Second Place.
So, you know what, Tico?
What, Sean?
At the beginning of every show,
Yeah.
we always start the show with 10 seconds of silence, deliberately, and then you just went,
But, okay. I got a new beer, and it's a pineapple flavored IPA, and I was surprised at the taste. So I said,
yes,
it was good.
During our deliberate 10 seconds of silence. I'm not quite sure if you understand what the word silence means.
All right, so that was 2 seconds of the 10 seconds I took up. I'll give you your 2 seconds of silence now. And now we're all caught up.
Perfect. Excellent. Nice.
Just cut that 2 seconds of silence and put it over top of the 2 seconds that I missed earlier. That can't be very difficult to do.
And we're good. All right. Excellent.
Yeah.
Very well done.
That's how editing works, right?
Yes, absolutely. That is absolutely how editing works. The funny thing is, I don't edit the video show.
Oh, no. So that sound's just going to be there?
Oh, it's there for forever.
Plus that extra silence that I put in is just going to be...
It is engraved in the annals of history.
Well...
Don't ask me how it got on the annals of history, but it's engraved there.
It's engraved there?
Yeah.
That's an odd place to engrave stuff. But,
it is. I mean, I'm not the one engraving in the annals of history, but someone is.
I'm trying to find a segue from this somehow into our...
There is no segue into anything.
And I'm waiting for something to work and nothing does. So let's talk about what we played, Sean.
There is no segue into anything off of that.
I hope not, at least.
There is only one game to talk about this week.
And that game is?
It's a game we've been waiting for how long now? 3 years?
I think it was first announced in 2017.
I think you're right. We are going to talk about Ghost of Tsushima, which is a game that very much like Horizon Zero Dawn before it, it was a game that I knew the moment I first laid eyes on it that I was a game that I was going to love. And so far, so it launched this morning, like we're recording on Friday. It launched at midnight, and I don't know about you, but I was waiting until midnight, and I was watching the clock tick down on my pre-order. 2 minutes, 30 seconds. I'm like, okay. And I'm just watching the clock tick down until midnight. And first of all, I'm going to say Sony needs to fix the whole, when a game goes live, it should just launch immediately. It doesn't. It went to 0, and then it came up with an error saying this game is not activated or something. So I had to...
Mine didn't do that. Mine clicked to 0 and said ready to start.
Oh, really? No, I had to jump back out and then restart it, so it was weird.
Oh, I hadn't started yet, so I was on the dashboard and it rolled down and then it just clicked down to start.
Your microphone's wrong again.
Your microphone's wrong again.
It sounds weird anyway. So I'm actually really, really liking Ghost of Tsushima, or Tsushima, however you want to pronounce it. It's a gorgeous game. And so we didn't get this for review. So, I very happily purchased the deluxe edition for this. And I jumped right in at midnight. I played for about an hour last night and then got up this morning and was playing for a couple more hours. I will say that it does take some getting used to in the combat. Like, the combat seems you can't button mash the combat on this. You have to be very, very deliberate with your combat and actually watch the enemy's movements in order to counter them or jump out of the way, because each enemy has a very distinct and different way of approaching them.
Yeah, the combat is not... because the game itself feels so much like Assassin's Creed, you instinctively try to go to Assassin's Creed combat, and it's not that. It is entirely a different style of combat that really does. You do have to pay attention. You do have to time your movements and stuff like that. I'm really enjoying so far what I've played as well. I did the same thing as you, where I waited till midnight. I played for about an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Last night, and I've been playing throughout the day today. I'm like not terrible at the combat in this. I do suck at like the bow.
I don't have the bow yet. So I haven't received the bow. Where I am is very early in the game. Where you have to rescue the blacksmith, and I think I've only just got him then, and that's when I stopped, so I could pull the video and just kind of get this ready for the show. But
Okay.
so I don't have a bow yet. I just did get 2 throwing blades.
Yeah.
Which I haven't used yet. I only just unlocked them. So I do like the sort of progression in gaining new weapons, gaining new abilities. You don't just have everything at the get-go. Like when you first start the game, you are just a samurai. And even story-wise, he doesn't want to be an assassin, like, because it's against the code of a samurai.
Yeah, the
right?
honor.
It's against the honor. Like, and when you look your enemy in the eye when you deal his death, basically, right? That's the honor. Whereas going in like a thief or like as an assassin is backstab and killing without honor, and it shows that little bit of struggle via the story, but it never really stops to appreciate that meaning, like, because it's like, okay, they show a little cutscene where he struggles with this concept, and then you just go on your way, backstabbing anyone you want. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, the first kill that he does in stealth, the first
Yes.
stealth kill, you know, and it's a brutal kill too. Like he stabs the guy in the neck, then the guy doesn't die right, he pulls him to the ground and has to stab him in the stomach and groin
a
bunch of times, which and then he just sits there and contemplates what he's just done, and then you murder everybody else.
Exactly.
So interesting thing about, I didn't want to cut you off there, but one of the interesting things, you said you don't have the bow yet because you've just unlocked you've just saved the blacksmith.
Right.
I have not saved the blacksmith yet.
So you went a different route than I did.
I went a different path, and so I happened to do one of the other missions first. So I have my bow earlier than you do, or I guess at the same time or whatever. But I've done different missions.
Yeah, well, that's just it. I mean, when you get to the open world in Ghost of Tsushima, it's sort of like there's just stuff, and I did feel that sort of sense of being overwhelmed with, well, what am I supposed to do? Where am I supposed to? Oh, what should I be doing? You know, and it's not really clear, and I'm not sure if it's meant to be clear or meant to be like just go whatever you want. Here's some missions that are currently open. You can go and do them in whatever order you want. There doesn't seem to be a leveling per se. Although I do find, and I'm sure it's going to change as the game goes, I find that I'm still sort of afraid of the enemies out in the wilderness because I still don't have that I don't have full grip on the combat yet. Like, it's not perfectly smooth for me. If there's too many enemies, I'm finding I'm getting overwhelmed.
I found that a couple of times too. The other thing is the camera controls during battle. I've died once or twice in one of those large groups of people because the camera zooms in so close to your shoulder, and then you're trying to figure out where the next enemy is coming from, and you end up getting hit a few. Yeah,
because they go all around you as well.
Great.
Yeah, they go all around you as well. Right. So you're always constantly, moving the camera around to see where the next enemy is, because sometimes one could be behind you and you can't see it. I've also noticed, and I'm not sure if maybe I've missed it, but I don't know if there's like a lock-on feature, so to lock on a particular enemy. Early in the game, they tell you to focus on certain enemies by pressing the right stick, but I'm not sure, or the left stick or something, and I'm not sure how that works in live combat,
Yeah.
Anyway,
getting used to the combat still,
absolutely getting used to it. But we've played like 2, maybe 3 hours of this massive game.
Oh, yeah.
So we're still very, very early in understanding the game itself. But so far, I do love what I'm seeing. I like that you get the stealth early on, so I can play the way I feel comfortable playing. And kind of, it does feel like an Assassin's Creed feudal Japan.
Yeah, it really does. Like, it's just like, where are the Templars?
Yeah, really?
Like,
where's the Animus?
yeah, where's the animus? Where's this tower? I need to climb up to unlock this region. Like it does feel like really does feel like if they had just slapped an Assassin's Creed on this somewhere, this feels so much like what that would have been.
Yes. And that's not a bad thing to say.
No. I mean, we both love the Assassin's Creed games, so like that's it's very enjoyable. I absolutely love the standoff mechanic.
Yes.
That it gives you. Like that's my method. I'm running in anyways. I'm not sneaking around. I love that thing. You can walk up to the front of the fort and call them out. I've actually unlocked a skill that lets you hit the second enemy that attacks you as well with one of those.
Yeah, I just got that myself.
And it's just so satisfying when the guy takes a step towards you. It's like, oh no, you're in two pieces now,
right?
And it's just fun.
And it's a cinematic. What it is, like the whole standoff is cinematic. It literally goes to widescreen, so it shrinks the screen a little. If you're watching on YouTube, you'll see it right now, actually. So it goes to standoff, and you literally just hold the triangle button, and then as soon as the enemy attacks, you let go, and he does this like really smooth, quick, like assassination just like that. And as you mentioned, you then there's an ability you unlock with a skill point that will make, I guess, one other enemy will rush you, and you can finish him off in exactly the same manner. There later on, if you look through the tree, there's another one where two of them will rush you right after the first kill, and you can kill all three of them in that cinematic, insta-kill method. So it's very, very cool. I mean, I like it as well, but you got to be careful, because if there's 5 or 6 enemies behind the guy you challenged, they're all just going to come running in, and now it's a full-on battle. You can only do it to that one guy at first, right?
Yeah, it is good because it allows you to take out, like if there's 5 guys, it lets you take out 2 of them right off the bat.
For sure. And as you get more skills and more abilities, obviously you're going to be able to dispatch them faster later on as you go. But, first couple of hours of the game, gorgeous, beautiful. The soundtrack is amazing. The music, it really feels like you're in Japan. The voice acting is phenomenal. The visuals are incredible. And I'm loving it. I'm actually in awe as I just, ride my horse through this island, and it's just how beautiful and lush and colorful everything is,
Yeah, one of the things I really love is when you stumble onto a side quest, something will happen, somebody will call for your attention, you'll go over and you'll talk to them, and they'll say, like, do you want to do this mission now? And you say yes, and it gives you that almost that cinematic opening title card for that side mission. It feels like almost the side missions have that sort of cinematic experience to them for that same reason.
That's cool. I haven't actually come across one of those yet.
Well, you're missing out, sir.
Well, like I said, I had a show to prepare for. I don't just play games and then show up,
I barely even play games.
Anyway, Ghost of Tsushima, I'm sure we'll talk about it more as we progress through it. It literally just launched today, and we've only played it for a few hours, but I am very much enjoying what I'm seeing of this game so far. And if you own a PS4, you definitely need to play this game. This is the last first-party game of the year, of the generation. Yeah. This is it until PS5 comes along, and all I can think of is I can't wait to see this on a PS5 now. Like, how much better is this going to be?
It's going to be it's already ridiculously pretty, and I'm looking forward to the changing of the seasons when we get to see all the cherry blossoms and stuff like that coming into the game and stuff too. It's very pretty. It's going to look even better on the PS5.
Is that happening in the game? Have you read about that? The change of seasons?
Well, I mean, I imagine because Japan's very famous for their cherry blossom season, and I could have sworn there's a ton of visuals, in the early artwork and stuff like that showed the pink and red leaves and stuff.
That's right? True. That's true. I've seen some of them in cutscenes early on, but not in the gameplay itself. But anyway, Ghost of Tsushima, check it out if you haven't. You definitely owe it yourself to play this game. It's fantastic. Other than that, I haven't played anything else. I did finish multiple times, actually. I finished last week's game that I talked about, Superliminal. And I finally got that fire extinguisher achievement. I finally found that one fire extinguisher in Chapter 7 I was missing to get that achievement. So I have 3 achievements yet to get, and that's the speedrun stuff, right? So the actual, all of the game elements, achievements are done. Right?
You just have to do them faster now.
I just have to play the game itself, and you don't have to collect anything in the speed run. You just have to get through room to room to room to room, and do, basically solve the puzzles as fast as you can to get from one room to another and progress through each level as fast as you can. I'm reading that the speed run for 30 minutes is difficult. Although the 1 hour one seems to be easy because a lot of people are saying, I've done it as fast as I can and I'm still at 36 minutes. So, okay, well, we'll see.
Well, I think you can do it. I've got faith in you.
I'm not holding out hope. We'll see. I've got another big game to play right now anyway, so. Today, just before the show, Jeff Keighley did a hands-on with the new DualSense controller for the PS5. We've seen the controller. I think it's a great-looking controller, but Jeff Keighley had a PS5 and a controller brought to him for like a couple of hours. It literally brought to his house, set up. He got to sit down and play a demo of the game that comes. Every PS5 will come with the Astro Buddy Adventures or whatever it's called. It will already be on the hard drive. Yeah. And so that game is deliberately created in order to demonstrate the abilities of the DualSense controller. And so it sounds very cool. I mean, I think we've heard a lot about it, but Jeff Keighley was able to experience it and actually explain more what it feels like. He says it's a little bit heftier. It feels much more robust than the current PS4 controller. It's a little bit heavier, but he says the triggers, like when you're pulling, say, on a bow, you actually feel the tension of pulling on that bow in the stick or in the control, like in the right trigger. That's the trigger, right? So it's not just pressing a trigger. You're actually pulling the trigger, and it's actually pushing against you to apply that actual tension of the bow or whatever it is you're pulling. So he says it's bringing a whole new sense of realism to the games, a whole new dimension to the video game itself. I can imagine when you're playing something like a Call of Duty, that as you're pulling the trigger on an automatic weapon, the trigger will literally be bouncing in your hand, right? Like a trigger would. You'll feel that pull on the trigger as you pull the trigger. Even like imagine Destiny when you're doing like a scout rifle and you're pulling. Imagine like the initial pull being a little bit forceful and then it just lets go. Imagine that every time you pull the trigger. Well, it's not just simple in out. It's like literally pull the trigger and then it lets go as you get to a certain point. You know what I'm saying? Like you're pulling a real trigger. That's really cool to me.
I like that. That really gives you that sense, because like there's games now where like if you hold the trigger and it charges a shot, right? Like you can feel the vibration, and it's really going to give you that proper full thing sense. As you release.
Exactly. And I'm not sure if I'm a little confused whether or not that same tension is in the sticks as well. I wasn't sure if that's what Jeff was saying, was the actual sticks have tension depending on what you're doing. So, which would be very, very cool. Like if you're grabbing something and you have to pull back on it, imagine if the stick was hard to pull because the item you're pulling is heavy. That'd be cool, right?
That'd be cool. I mean, I can imagine how much of a pain in the ass it would be when that controller breaks.
Because someone pulled too hard?
Somebody pulled too hard, or just the sheer having use of that on a regular basis, the wear and tear on the controller is going to cause it to break down a lot faster.
Yeah, I mean, I'd imagine the actual sticks would have to be more metallic inside.
Yeah.
So, because it wouldn't just be plastic, because you're right.
Snap.
Even vibrations could snap plastic, right? But I think you're going to have like metal core in order to do stuff like that. Even on the triggers, you got to have like a metal core. I mean, I'd imagine if there's pressure pushing on the trigger, it's got to eventually break the plastic, or at least crack it. You know what I mean? If constant pressure on it. So who knows? I mean, Sony knows what they're doing when it comes to hardware. So we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
No, interesting. Be interested to see what this and getting to try it once it's out.
Yes, I'm looking forward to that. I'm very excited. I think it's a cool looking controller. It looked like it was physically bigger than the current controller. Like, not huge. We're certainly not talking about the original Xbox controller by any means. But it does look like it's a little bit wider and maybe a little bit thicker. You know?
Yeah.
But I guess with all those extra components inside, it makes sense.
Yeah,
So,
it'll probably be it'll be bigger than, and it probably has more of a feeling of more heft, almost like the Elite controller does for the Xbox. When you compare the two,
right?
you
Jeff,
get that extra heft to it.
Yeah, Jeff was saying it definitely has a better heft. He says it feels solid, like more solid than even the PS4 controller, which was 100 times better than the PS3 controller. So it does sound like they are really, really improving the quality of the controller with the new PS5 DualSense controller.
Yeah.
Moving on to something completely different, Lego has announced a Lego NES set for $300 Canadian. This is a full size. Imagine, it looks like full size.
Yeah.
Original NES made of Lego, complete with the opening top, complete with a Lego cartridge you can insert into it and close the lid, complete with a controller that you can plug into the NES, and then a little mini television, a CRT television, old school.
Yeah, with antenna.
With antenna, with a scrolling screen that has Super Mario on it, and there's a crank on the side that as you turn it, the screen scrolls like you're playing Mario, and Mario actually jumps up and down through the screen. Yeah. All made out of Lego. It's like 2,600 pieces for $299 Canadian or $240. No, it's $230 American. Which honestly, for 2,600 pieces, that's pretty much on par with how much sets cost these days.
Yeah, and only a little bit more than an actual current gen console.
Right, exactly. So you could pay for the real thing, or you can pay for Lego. Yeah. I prefer to pay for Lego.
I really like this. I don't have anywhere to display it. I mean, I don't really have. It's a very expensive thing, and I don't think that I would get it myself. But it is one of the coolest Lego sets I have ever seen.
It's very cool.
It's one of those things where even at that price point, I'm sitting, and I don't have anywhere to put it again, and I'm still like, do I?
Well, people haven't seen it. Maybe I'll post a picture of it before, but I have Star Wars UCS sets, Ultimate Collector Series sets, that cost about as much as that, if not more. Some of them do cost more, or did.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to buy that stuff because, for me personally, building Lego is sort of like that. It's sort of like that Zen relaxation for me. I like to just sit down and spend a few hours building a very large set. I don't like building the little sets that have like 300-400 pieces, because to me it's like, when I want to sit down and build something in Lego, I want to build something that's going to take me a couple of hours a day over the course of like a week, because I enjoy that it's a relaxation moment for me, just sitting and building Lego. And my Lego Millennium Falcon has 5,200 pieces in it. It took me 40 hours to build. I spent 4 hours a day over the course of 10 days to build that. And it was absolutely, and I loved it. I hated the fact that it came to an end. It was one of those, and then the same thing for the Lego Imperial Shuttle. It has like 3,200 pieces. Again, it took me 12 or 14 hours to build. And I love that. So when something has about 2,600 pieces, it's going to take a good 6 to 8 hours to build. And that's what I look for. Personally, when I buy a Lego, which I typically buy a big set of Lego once a year to maybe once every 2 years. right? So I don't mind
Yeah.
spending that $200 to $300 on something that I'm going to enjoy for a good 12 or more hours building.
Yeah. You have the display area for it, though, and you have children who are old enough to know that if they touch it, they die.
That's right.
Whereas I would, make that and then, find my daughter has decided the dog likes to eat these pieces. And so I'd end up with a broken piece, a dog that I have to take to the vet,
Yes.
and, a whole bunch of stuff. So
Yeah.
it's harder for me to do that because I don't have the display area for another 10
Yeah.
years.
And-
So that before I get rid of this kid.
And that's just the thing, though. I mean, I have a display area here for my Star Wars Lego, but I'm still contemplating getting the Lego NES, but I have the same predicament you have, is like, where would I display it? I honestly don't know where I would put it once it's built, because of the fact that it's actually a full-size Nintendo.
Yeah.
It's not a mini NES, it's a full-size NES, with full-size controller and the little mini television. But where do I put it? I don't know where I put it. This room is full of all my gaming
You
stuff.
just built a brand new fantastic shelf in your kitchen above the sink.
Oh, good. Yeah, Dorothy would love that in the kitchen.
Just put it up there, see how long it takes her to notice.
Like, immediately. Yeah.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, that shelf is right above the garbage, and I'm afraid she'll just, sweep it in.
And she would too.
Yeah.
She'd be like, "Yep, you should have known better,
Should have
Sean."
known better than that. Anyway, let's move on. Talk about a few Microsoft things this week. Microsoft is adding xCloud to Ultimate Game Pass coming September. So xCloud obviously is where you can play Xbox games in the cloud on your phone or tablet.
Right.
And I believe we talked about this months and months ago, where we said, you watch, xCloud is going to become part of Game Pass. And guess what? We called it again. Everything we talk about on this show becomes reality.
At some point.
Some point.
Sometimes it's like a day after we talk about it. Sometimes it's,
That's right.
a few weeks.
Or
sometimes
in this case,
maybe a year.
months later. But yeah, xCloud is coming to Xbox Game Pass, no extra cost. So you own, if you're paying, your $15 a month for Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. It is only part of Ultimate. Then you will also be able to stream those same games on your phone or tablet, wherever you are.
Yeah.
What I'd love to see, Tico, I'd love to see this extended in the future to include any games you've actually purchased.
So if you own it, if it's on your Series X, your Series X should be able to act as the server.
Well, not necessarily as a server. No, it couldn't, because your upload speed would then have to be fast enough and all that. But the thing with the xCloud is it's coming from the Azure, Microsoft Azure server farms. But that server farm also knows what games you own. And I'm talking about games you've purchased digitally, not necessarily physical.
Right.
Games you've purchased digitally are part of your account. So when you log in, it knows what games you own. It would be awesome if those now unlock as part of xCloud, because you do own them. So allow me to play it wherever I am. That would be really cool.
Yeah, the full experience from your Xbox, if you could play that on any tablet, PC, or phone.
That's right.
Would be so cool and give them a huge, huge step up.
Yes. The only thing that does, Tico, to be honest with you, is it then removes the need for people to actually buy an Xbox, because you don't have to play the games on an Xbox. If that were the case. If they bring that functionality, someone could legitimately have an Xbox account, purchase games digitally, and never actually own an Xbox. And that may be the future Microsoft's looking towards.
I think that might be. For the most part, the console, at least at a certain point, ends up being a loss leader.
You're right. Exactly. Yes, the money is in the digital games.
Yeah.
And, of course, the subscription fees. The subscription fees really is where the money is when it comes to Game Pass.
Yeah.
But you're right. Hardware is typically a loss leader. There's not a lot of profit to be made on hardware. And this could legitimately be where Microsoft's going, where sure, you can buy an Xbox if you want one, hook it up to your television, but you don't need one. Imagine a future where Xbox is now just software on your smart TV.
Yeah, and we're not too far off from that happening.
No, absolutely. Because that could happen with xCloud.
Yeah.
You know, Xbox Game Pass plus xCloud attached to your account, allowing you to buy digitally any game you want, also being able to stream the games you bought digitally, not just from Xbox Game Pass. That, to me, is what I believe Microsoft's moving towards.
All right, let's give it a timeline, Sean.
Oh, what? That you can play your games?
Yeah.
I'm going to say within the next 2 years, they'll add that feature.
All right, I'm going to say announced at whatever the next E3 is.
Which is next year.
Yeah, I'm saying whatever. I'm just saying, next year's version of E3.
So they're going to say it's coming in 2021.
Holiday, yeah. They're going to say it's coming for holiday 2021.
So, all right. So about a year after xCloud comes to Game Pass, they'll also add any games you own.
Correct.
Cool. And speaking of Series X and Xbox, there is going to be another event next week. Speaking about, they're going to show all the first-party games that they didn't talk about back in their June or May, whenever it was, E3 thing. So a new July event. Now, they have said that they're not going to talk about hardware at all. No hardware announcements, no price, no release date, nothing. Just games. So it's literally going to be like watching the world premiere stuff from the Game Awards. It's just going to be trailer after trailer after trailer.
Right, because there's no live. It's not a live event. It's a fully, it'll be a fully put together, pre-recorded event. So we're not going to have to watch the bad puns and people up on a thing trying to play to an audience or anything like that. It's going to be a couple of hosts in front of some green screen and just games.
That's just games. So, the whole world premiere.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's going to be a lot of that.
See a bunch of hired actors dressed up as Master Chief coming out on stage and pretending to do whatever.
Nope. Nothing.
We don't have to see that. It's just going to be the games.
So that is going to be the 23rd of July. I actually don't know what time it's at. Do you recall offhand what time that's supposed to happen?
I'm going to say 3-ish.
3 p.m. Eastern, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah.
No, or is it? Is it noon Eastern? I can't. No. I don't know. I don't. Look it up.
Well, I'm looking it up.
Look it up.
I'm
all right, well, while you look that up real quick, on the heels of the Xbox Series X coming out, Microsoft has already discontinued development or production of the Xbox One X and the Xbox One S digital. So the S digital and the Xbox One X, they're not making any more. You go to your store, if you want to buy one now, you need to get out there now before they sell out because they're not getting any more.
Well, they may get more. There could be a warehouse full of these things that they just...
Chances are you may never see one again, though.
All right.
Now, the weird thing, though, with the Tico, is they are still going to continue selling the Xbox One S, with the disc drive.
Yeah.
Which
is fine. They want to have a lower entry-level point to get in.
Isn't the X the better one, though? Why not continue the X and bring that down in price point to sell that alongside the Series X? Is it maybe because the naming convention would be too confusing?
It could be a confusing naming. Last thing you want is some guy who didn't read very well buying a One X, getting home
and realize, it's not a Series X.
Trying to slide a copy of Halo Infinite in there. It's why isn't it working?
That's true.
The so and so at Walmart I didn't understand them through my mask, and and then they're whatever. That's how it works. July 3rd, 9 a.m. PT. By the way, PT.
So it is noon Eastern.
Yeah.
Okay, it just didn't sound right to me, but yeah, noon Eastern will be the July event for Xbox Series X. What is interesting is Xbox showed off the new box art for their games for the Series X, and they've actually removed the word one from the box. It now just says Xbox now. Like everything is now just coined Xbox. It's not Xbox One anymore. Like one has been dropped. It's a brand. Yeah, Xbox is now the brand, and then the system is the Series X. You know, right. And I'm wondering if they will eventually rebrand the Xbox One S to maybe Series S. I don't know what they're doing there.
Could be Series S. I've heard talk of other than the Series X. They are working on there's two other code names that have been heard out there. Exactly what those two code names are going to be. It could be an all digital. Could be
right. That's the rumor. The rumor is of an all digital and a lower, like an entry point one or something. I don't know. Microsoft is not talking about hardware next week, so who knows when more information is coming. I mean, we're getting into August here.
Yeah.
You'd think we should at least be learning about release dates soon, considering it's only a couple of months away. What are they waiting for?
This is Sony and Microsoft playing a game of chicken as to who has to announce first.
It's a standoff between the two of them. Exactly. One doesn't want to announce until the other does, so they can undercut them.
Yeah, well, we're going to be this much money on this date. Oh yeah, well, we're coming out 3 days earlier for $50 cheaper.
And then the other one says, actually, we're coming out on this date for this much cheaper.
You know, and eventually get to the point as we've been out for 3 years already, for free. Yeah, I don't know. It's a fun little game that they like to play, this back and forth. But it was always a lot more fun at E3 because they had their set dates where they had to do these things, and whoever went first, and then whoever went second made fun of whatever whoever went first talked about and said. Yeah. It's like, oh, nobody's going to want that stuff. We love our discs.
That's right. Now it's like we're going into August. It's going to probably release they're coming out in 3 months. For 3 to 4 months from today. Like, why do we not already know the dates? I mean, this is usually time people are putting money on a pre-order.
Well, and I think that the pandemic affected that a little bit because, EB was closed and so there was less demand from the retailers saying we need to start taking these things. I'm guessing that places like EB and Best Buy are chomping at the bit to get their pre-orders started on these. Exactly. Because this is their holiday. This is their holiday money with new consoles.
Let me ask you something, Tico. From you would know this. Having been a previous manager of EB. Is there anything to stop EB from taking pre-orders now without an actual release date? Could they do that?
Yeah, oh no, and I can guarantee you that they probably do have a SKU in the system, a generic Xbox Series X base console SKU in the system for probably $1,000. It's probably showing $999 to stop people from doing the pay in full.
Right.
Thing. Same thing with the PS5 base unit, so people can start putting down their money and getting their names on the list. I could almost guarantee you, and Glenn, I'm sure will at some point listen to this and watch this and tell us, yes, absolutely, you guys can do that now.
Well, I have a feeling I haven't heard anything, but my understanding is for whatever reason, people were lining up at GameStops to pre-order the PS5 the other day. And Sony never announced anything, and no one knew why they were lining up. Suddenly, people were lining up to pre-order when nothing was ever announced.
You get rumors out there saying it's going to be available for pre-order, like whenever they have a show. It's like, oh, they're going to announce pre-orders open now.
True. Yeah.
Right? They're going to announce pre-orders open now, so we better get in line. So when they say it, we're already in line for it.
So ridiculous.
Because people are ridiculous. Because it's not like,
Yeah.
Like, it's not going to do you any good. I don't care if you're the first one on the list or not. If they get two,
yeah, exactly.
The manager and the assistant manager are getting them, and everybody else goes home unhappy.
That's right. Although Sony did say they're actually ramping up production. Like, they're going to be developing or producing, was it 10 million more units by the end of the year than initially intended?
Yeah.
So that's pretty awesome. I don't know what Microsoft's planning, but yeah.
10 million and one. Depends on who announces first, right?
For $50 less.
Yeah. We're making 10 million in 1 units, and screw you guys.
And we're out now.
Yeah.
What? Oh my gosh. All right. Let's move on to some television and movie talk, shall we?
All right, let's talk about television and movies.
I just want to talk a little bit about Fear the Walking Dead. I know that it's not a current... Well, I mean, it starts again in next month, so I'm hoping I can get caught up through Season 5 before it starts in Season 6. But I'm on Season 4, and I've learned some things about the Walking Dead universe, and particularly the 2 shows that are there, that I found really interesting. So first of all, I'm watching right through Season 3. You know, great storytelling. I'm loving it. There's a few characters that I hated from the beginning. But anyway, and there's also characters I loved right from the beginning. But that's, I think, normal for any of these shows. And then Season 4 starts. And I'm like, what the heck is going on here? There was like a time jump.
Yeah.
But no explanation whatsoever of what happened since the cliffhanger ending of Season 3. There's like zero talk about what happened from that moment to now. Apparently it's a 2-year gap that it just suddenly jumps to in Season 4. And I mean, you get used to the whole new world, the new storyline. They've added some great new characters, like fantastic new characters added.
Yeah.
You know, almost characters are like, why did we not have these characters from the beginning? Because these characters are awesome. Morgan from The Walking Dead joins them in Season 4. And what I find interesting about this is I've kind of been mulling over the timeline of the Walking Dead universe. And Seasons 1 through 3, it's interesting how they've done this chronologically with these 2 shows. They've written these 2 shows, The Walking Dead and Fear the Walking Dead, so that the events of these shows never happen simultaneously. Right? So,
right.
And the way they've done this is Fear the Walking Dead Seasons 1 through 3 all happen in the 60 days before Rick Grimes wakes up in the hospital in the first episode of The Walking Dead. Right? And then, because Season 3, like I said, there's a time jump between Season 3 and Season 4. The beginning of Season 4 of Fear starts at Season 9 of The Walking Dead, just before The Walking Dead's 8-year time jump.
Right.
So you've got Fear the Walking Dead Seasons 1 through 3 chronologically, The Walking Dead Seasons 1 through 9.5 chronologically, and then Fear the Walking Dead moving forward from that point. Meanwhile, The Walking Dead jumps 8 years into the future.
Right.
So the events in these shows literally never cross over. They never are happening at the same time. And I think the more I think and realize that this is what they've done, that is why there's a time jump. Because they brought Morgan into it. The only way to bring Morgan into it is to bring the Fear the Walking Dead up to the Season 9 timeline of The Walking Dead.
Right.
And then The Walking Dead time jumps so that it gets out of the way of Fear the Walking Dead.
Yeah. So it's a bunch of stuff in order to balance out the Fear the Walking Dead. The characters that they had to start had all run their course. Their storylines had mostly resolved themselves and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I personally felt there's a lot of characters who are not very likable.
I agree.
So it's hard to root for this. And bringing Lenny James Morgan's character over, he is a well liked character from The Walking Dead, and bringing him over, obviously brings that fan base from Walking Dead over with him, and so now you're starting new stories, and he's got to now be the focal point. So you've got to get rid of all those other nagging loose ends so you can start telling the new stories.
And the new stories are great. I mean, I didn't mind the stories in Season 1 through 3. I heard people talk about how bad Fear was for the first 3 seasons. I'm like, I don't know why they thought it was bad. It was enjoyable. Sure, there's characters I didn't like that were just annoying, and these were the heroes. But, Season 4, I definitely agree, is so much better. There's something I don't know if they brought in new showrunners or new writers, but yeah, there's something new. It feels like a new show. You know, it really feels like a new show, not a continuation. In a good way. It's really good stories. I love there's like 3 main new characters added right away. One is Al, played by Maggie Grace from Lost. She was Shannon on Lost. And then there's John Dory, played by Garrett Dillahunt. Garrett Dillahunt. Fantastic. Both characters, absolutely. Right off the bat, you just love those characters. And
I've been a fan of Garrett Dillahunt's for almost everything. He was in the Sarah Connor Chronicles.
Yes, he was Crow Marty.
Yep. He was in Deadwood twice. It's 2 different characters.
Really? I never watched Deadwood.
That's how much they liked him. They had him in as one character. He did such a good job. The character died, and they brought him back as a different guy later down the road.
Yeah, he's
the
good.
TV show Raising Hope.
Oh yeah, he's in that.
He's plays the dad in that, and absolutely hilarious in that. So like the range, I've just been a big fan of his. For a while, and just absolutely love him in this as well.
And before we move on, here's what I love about season 4. What they really flipped the storytelling upside down, because it starts with Morgan, obviously starts with Morgan, who meets John Dory, who together meet Al. Yeah. Or Althea is her name. And they're sort of like the new heroes that you're pushing for, that you're behind them. And then suddenly they bring back our original heroes as the bad guys. Like, wait a minute, what's going on here? And then for the first half of the season, there's this tension between the new heroes and the old heroes who you still love, but you understand the intentions on both sides, and it really, really conveyed that whole one person's hero is another person's villain.
Yeah.
And your heroes can just as easily be the villain to someone else's heroes.
Yeah.
Right? So you could have heroes on both sides. And it really makes you think, in this world they're creating with The Walking Dead, it's so easy to see your original heroes becoming the people they're fighting against when you introduce other heroes you're rooting for on the other side.
And that's why in The Walking Dead, when you do introduce a villain in The Walking Dead, you can't just introduce a villain and be like, this is the bad guy. You need to introduce the villain and have him do something so despicable.
Yes.
That there's no doubt that this guy's viewpoints are villainous. And then they take that and then they twist it on the other end where you start to feel for them, like Negan.
Right.
Is introduced in such a horrific way. There's no way this guy is not the worst bad guy in the entire series ever.
Yes.
And now here we are
rooting for him
in season 10, and you're like, man, I hope things work out for that Negan guy.
Right?
That guy who took a baseball bat to Glenn.
Exactly.
And you're like, I hope he gets his bat back. That's the mentality that you have, and that's what they've done with these characters. So
but that's the brilliance of their writing, is they can make you love the most despicable villain. Yeah. And then by the end of season 10, he's like your favorite character and you want him to be the winner. Because he's now sort of on the right side. It's incredible.
And a lot of that is Jeffrey Dean Morgan as being an absolutely fantastic and charismatic actor.
He is.
To make you.
Oh, yes.
He's the villain, but it's like Freddy with his one-liners in Nightmare on Elm Street.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's what you're rooting for. You root for the bad guy at times. It's sort of the Deadpool quality, the anti-hero that you want to people probably identify with him, and people probably look at Negan's actions, despicable, yes, but what was the reasoning for it? And if you flesh out the whole story they've told, his reasons they're certainly not good, but they were in his head justified, and he thought just.
Yeah. He thought he was creating a new society. He was doing his best to create a new society, but his methods were just maybe not entirely proper, I guess. It's just so well done. I mean, it really is. The writers are brilliant. And the more I understood, like I said, the timeline, the way they're working things, the more I understood why they did a time jump between 3 and 4. It's just, I don't think... See, the time jump in The Walking Dead Season 9 was handled really well and very smoothly. Right? Yeah. There was no question what just happened. You had no question where everybody was and what was going on. In Season 4, it was like a huge jolt. Like, what is going on here?
Like, I think that was the decision was, do we cancel Fear the Walking Dead after 3 seasons and start this new thing? Or do we just take these characters and bring them into this universe and start telling the new stories and get rid of the characters that we aren't able to really tell stories with anymore?
Right.
And that's what they did. They kept it going.
Yeah. And it's you got to get through about half the season where everything really comes together, because they're trying to actually tell 2 storylines simultaneously. They're telling a story now versus a year ago, and then eventually those 2 timelines finally come together and then continue on. But I mean, the stories are told brilliantly; they really are. So, anyway,
and you're not in season 5 yet, so
no,
I will save having conversations about that because some fun stuff happens.
Yeah, well, I think they've just introduced a new baddie in the second half of season 4, so we'll see where that's going. Anyway, that's enough of Walking Dead. I'm enjoying watching Fear the Walking Dead. It was a show I was hesitant about for years, and I'm glad I finally started watching it now. I should definitely be finished before it starts again on August 11th. So I'm finally going to be caught up on both shows in the Walking Dead series. Well, after many years of trying to catch up.
I mean, that's 15 seasons worth of content, so that's pretty good.
Yeah, that I've pretty much watched in the last 1 year.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
not too bad.
You've watched a few things.
I watched a couple of things. So one thing Peacock started the other day.
The Peacock Network?
The Peacock Network. Or
too many networks.
Channel. Well, not a network. I mean, Peacock is NBC's.
Yes,
NBC
I know.
has now... has their streaming service called the Peacock out now.
It's too many streaming services. What's going on here?
Well, they're all trying to capitalize on this stuff because they realize that some of these companies are making some good money.
And I'd say the majority of them are going to fail.
Yeah, there's a good chance. I did get a chance to watch Psych the Movie Part 2. Come Home Lassie. Psych was a TV series on the USA Network back in the day that I really enjoyed. It went 8 seasons and
what is
got
Psych?
canceled.
Is it a crime drama? What is it?
It's a crime dramedy.
Oh, okay.
It's a dramedy. So Psych revolves around the main character, James Roday's character, Sean Spencer, pretends he's a psychic to claim money from basically he solves crimes. He's really observant is what it is, and he watches TV, like news things and stuff like that, and he calls up the police station, says yep, the assistant manager did it, and because he's just so observant he can figure it out just by watching on TV. So when he goes in to collect his reward money, they arrest him because he has so much information, like the knowledge he has on it means he would only have it if he was involved. So he tells them he's a psychic, and that's how he knows everything. And so he gets his money, is leaving, and then the police department decides to hire him as a police psychic to help solve crimes. And he keeps the act going through like 8 seasons of this show. And, he has this whole thing where he puts his hand to his head and does like, amazing Kreskin stuff and deduces things and then figures out ways to tell the police stuff without getting himself in trouble. It was a very funny show that went for 8 It was then off for a couple of years, and they did a Kickstarter to do a movie. They did the movie, and it went well. It was funny. So this is the second movie in the from this. I think it was about 2 years later. The first movie, one of the main characters from the show, Tim Odmanson, had a stroke, and so he wasn't able to be in the first movie. So this was, they wanted to bring him back into this movie.
Oh, okay.
So this is on the Peacock Network. So I watched that the other day. It was very funny. Very much enjoyed it. Shannon actually wants to do a rewatch of the whole series now, so we will end up doing that.
Awesome.
At some point.
And then you watch something that's like 20 years old for some reason.
Yeah. So because you were talking about watching Tom Hanks in Greyhound.
Yes.
And I'm like, what war stuff was good? And Tom Hanks executive produced and was involved with Band of Brothers.
I think it was like short. That wasn't that sort of right after Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah, so it's a TV mini series. It's I think a 10-episode mini series based off of World War II, and it just rewatching that, it's so well done.
Does it stand up the 20 years test of time?
It really does, because it was a period piece. Like, it was like a lot of it was filmed in sort of that grainy feel and everything like that you'd expect of the timeline. The acting is absolutely fantastic, going through like just the sheer number of people in this that you're like, oh yeah, that guy's in this. Oh, that guy. Like Michael Fassbender has a small part. Tom Hardy has a small part, like 2 episodes. Like before these guys were big, and it holds up so ridiculously well.
Okay.
To the point too where I'm watching stuff like Neil McDonough's in it. I can't remember the actor's name now, but like 2 of the villains from Arrow.
Oh, really?
Were in it. So Neil McDonough played Damien Dark.
Yeah.
And the guy who played, I can't remember the guy who was trying to kill him for the number of years. You know the guy, Sean.
You mean Malcolm Merlin?
No, the other one.
I don't know. Anyway,
how do you
continue.
Not know?
It doesn't matter.
Guy,
it doesn't matter.
The assistant DA, I think. That guy.
Okay.
Anyways, he's in it too. So I'm just looking at the number of people who've gone on to like different things in Arrow and all of that fun stuff too. It's just, it holds up, and it's fun to watch these a lot of these actors in their early years.
Well, you mentioned the Arrowverse.
Yeah.
We haven't talked about Batwoman in a while. Well, the CW has actually cast Javisha Leslie as the new series lead in Batwoman.
Yes.
I have no clue who Javisha Leslie is. I've never heard of her. I've never seen her. I know she was part of God Friended Me,
which I didn't watch.
which I've never seen. I still don't know how I feel about replacing Kate Kane with a brand new character.
Yeah, the options are to end the show or to replace her. So,
well, unfortunately, changing the character, like, who knows how good it's going to be? It may end up just killing the show anyway. Like, who knows?
True. It could. I mean, I've not seen God Friended Me, so I don't know. I mean, the new character could be interesting, and it has been done well before, and it has been done horribly before when bringing in a new character.
Right. Although it's just never happened in the Arrowverse, so this is new for us. You and I and Glenn have discussed things privately that it's just, you bring in a new character, every single loose end in season 1 is just dead. Right? Yes. There's no tying up any of those loose ends or storylines. And some of the characters have probably you just got to drop them. What's the point? Like, what's the point of Mary anymore? Mary was Kate's sister. The only reason she was there is because she's Kate's sister, or adoptive, or stepsister.
Stepsister,
right?
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess her father could still be there because he's the head of the Crows, but who cares who he is anymore? You know,
well, yeah, he's not relevant anymore.
Well, he's not relevant, exactly.
Her ex-girlfriend, the reason for her to be in it as part of the Crows was because it was her ex-girlfriend.
Right. Every single main character in that show was there because of Kate.
Yeah.
Right? There is no reason for them to still be there if Kate's no longer there.
Yeah, so and we'll see. And we'll see pretty quickly if they're going to, get rid of, a bunch of people and sort of do almost a full reboot.
Right. And I mean, I guess the only character that could still be there is Luke.
Yeah,
right.
He's
but then
tied to Batman.
How does this unknown girl suddenly have access to Wayne Towers, where the Batcave is?
Yeah.
It's like, what? Anyway, we won't know until the new year, obviously, when the CW shows come back. But yeah, they finally cast a new character as Batwoman. What's her name? What's the character's name? Winona or something Ryder?
Hang on. Now I had it.
Yeah, I had it as well. I just closed it.
Ryan Wilder.
Ryan Wilder. A brand new character created specifically for the show. She's not from the comics in any way.
But that's what I mean. That's where Harley Quinn, came from. She came from
the cartoon. I know. She was created for the cartoon. You're right.
So listen, it's not necessarily a bad thing. We've
true.
seen this before, where a character created for the movies or for the TV show has been brought into the comics.
Oh yeah, I mean
Diggle exceptionally well.
Diggle was created for Arrow. He's now in the comics.
Right.
He was a character created specifically for the show.
Yeah.
Right, but now he's a character in the comics.
So we'll see. Maybe this will be good. Maybe it'll be just weird. Maybe it'll be a little bit of trivia that helps you win your bar trivia night 20 years from now.
Maybe. And speaking of winning things, some people are going to try to win $100,000, Tico, on a reality show while playing The Sims.
So we talked about this a few weeks ago, all of the video game properties coming to TV or movies, and this was on there, and I think we jokingly said, maybe as a game show.
And now it is. I tell you, we predict everything.
Yep, so here it is. This is going to be, it looks like it's going to be very similar to what Lego Masters is, but they're just building teams, building stuff on the computer to win challenges or something like this.
It's only 4 episodes.
Yeah, I can tell you this. This is as much information as I will ever know about this, because I have no interest in The Sims whatsoever.
You're not going to watch it just for the fun of it?
No.
It's only 4 episodes. Like, what kind of reality show is 4 episodes, though? Think about that.
Well, this one is.
Yeah.
It's on TBS. That's why.
It starts today. It's actually coming out today.
All right, you know what? I'm going to watch the first episode, because I watched the first episode of Cannonball. So it's only fair.
And Ultimate Tag.
Hey, listen, I'm 5 or 6 episodes deep on Ultimate Tag. That's some good stuff.
Shut up. Are you serious? You continued watching it?
I sometimes
just answer the question. Did you continue? Oh my gosh,
yes, I have.
Tico.
I need noise in the background as I do some certain things. That is one of the noises in the background as I work.
Well, anyway, the Sims reality competition is called Sparked. SPARK''D. Because you gotta have the apostrophe in there. Sparked.
That doesn't even save any time in typing. It's just replacing the E with an apostrophe.
Exactly.
Like
anyway,
if you got rid of the A, like SPRK''D, then you'd save 2 letters. Like, yeah, but at least be saving 1 letter.
But then it'd be spurked.
Spurked.
I don't know. I will watch the first episode. I want to know what's going on here. What this is. So we'll watch you and I will watch the first episode so that you, dear listener, dear watcher, don't have to.
All right. Full 1-hour review of the 35-minute show.
Yeah, okay.
With full play
next week.
And a betting line on the next video game to get a game show.
Well, not this show, because this show's done now. So you can follow the OMG Hour on Twitter at the OMG Hour. And of course, I am Ziantane everywhere. And that is XIANTAYNE.
All right, you can follow me on Twitter at Mr. Second Place. And on Instagram, you may have heard of it, Flipping Tables with OMG, our board game stuff.
Yeah, look out for some more video game or board game reviews coming soon. We've got a few in the works, so check that out on our channel. Of course, at youtube.com/OMG Nexus. Thanks everybody for listening. This has been episode number 376. We'll talk to you again next week.
Bye, guys.